This is Liz Colburn, host of The Morning Uplift. Thank you for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. After this episode, come join us on a trip around the soccer world as we discuss club and country every Tuesday. Stamp your soccer passport by subscribing on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your Public House Media podcasts. And thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello, everybody. It's No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and with the return of the No Filter Friday special mug that I made. I made this when Steven and I went to Color Me Mine, long before we had merch on this network. It's Alexa. Hello, Alexa. Thanks for coming. Girl, I was thinking about you this week. I really, really was, because I have been doing so much chatting with people. Because it's January and it's that time of year for me, I'm going to take, all right, posted, shared, good to go. And David Bobke's here. Hello, David Bob. Does it sound okay? Can you tell me that definitively? And don't lie to me, David Bobke. Please don't. I haven't done anything today because I have been partying. You can, my voice sounds terrible. I'm sorry. I've been partying kind of hard for the past, I don't know, a month. Sounding fabulous. Oh, good. I've been partying kind of hard for the past month, and I went really, really hard this week. I've been brunching, lunching, at multiple events at night, and it's been fun because people come up to me and say things to me, and just going out and seeing what new kind of stuff people have going. That's what kind of happens, like, January and February is award show season, right? We've got all the Guild Awards, Grammys, Grammys and Oscars are going to be in February, but everybody's like out campaigning for their awards that they're trying to get. So like everybody's out going, there's tons of parties, there's tons of stuff going on, and everybody's feeling really lunchy, which I dig. I love a lunch, yo. I love a lunch, and I've been having I had lunch the other day with my friend over on Melrose for like 4 hours the other day, and we just like went down the line systematically, like, what about this person, this person, this person, this person, this person? Like, it was ruthless, y'all. We ate about a 5-gallon bucket of guacamole, and it was so much fun. But that's the kind of like that's the time of year that it is in Hollywood, was everybody gets really, really friendly. And because Sundance just ended, people come home with all these, cocaine fueled stories, because Sundance is lovely and gorgeous and wonderful and whatever, but it's there's more blow than snow. Okay, we'll just put it that way. And it's, it's a good time. I've had some of the best times in my life at Sundance, hands down, for sure. But this year was a better year than last year, for like the business end of it, because people were selling. Shout out to my friend Gino. They made their another record-breaking Sundance came. Enough phone, enough. Jeez. Can't get any peace from my notifications around here. Anyway, so the reason I was thinking about you, Alexa, because Alexa and I did her radio show, and it was super fun, and we talked about everybody, which is becoming my specialty, basically. But I've been setting up a lot of interviews with a lot of people lately. Like I've been talking to Sanaa Hamry's manager board, interviewing her. I've been working on this blog post for Directed by Women for their 365 initiative thing that they're doing. And because, again, going back to the whole award show situation, really, Alexa, you want me to come back? I will totally come back. I will 100%. We'll come back and we'll talk about everybody, because that's what we do. That's all I do. That's all I do these days. But basically, I was thinking about you because I have all these people that I have to interview, and because it's award show season, I'm interviewing some of my favorite people, which is all the beauty departments, hair, makeup, and wardrobe. Those are my favorite departments to talk to. Hands down, my favorite departments to talk to. Because there's some of the more like intimate departments, like people putting stuff in your eye, or there's just people that watch you change, stuff like that, people that pin stuff to you. Like those are really, really intimate departments, and they kind of go under the radar a little bit, I think. Especially hair and makeup. Costume gets a little bit of love on occasion, but most of the departments that get any kind of love are directing, writing. Oh, Brittany's here. Hello, Brittany. Thanks for coming by. Writing, directing, producing by way of Best Picture. And then, and there's this thing this year with the Oscars not going to announce on the televised portion of the show the award for Best Cinematography, which is crap. Which is absolute crap. The Cinematographers Guild is like having an uproar, and everybody's really supportive of it, because that's the thing about, film, TV, or even music. Like all the stuff is a collaborative medium, and we're all interwoven together. It takes every single department for you to be able to see what you see on screen or hear what you hear. It takes a village of people to do this, and not one department is more or less important than the other. Like we're all together. It's all, like there's no such thing as non-essential people on production. We don't have time. We don't have money for that. Nobody has time or money for non-essential people anymore. Like that's long gone. That is eons ago. Every single person there is absolutely 100,000% necessary. So the fact that the Oscars are not going to televise that award is crap. But I've seen it happen at award shows before where they go, I think it was I went to American Music Awards one time, and they were horribly behind, like because it's live, like you got to keep your commercials and things like that. If people get up and talk, or they sing too long, or blah 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 blah, you get behind, you just got to shut the show down, because you only have your certain block of air. And they cut the show, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this person, this other person, these two over here, and these three in the back, they all won these separate awards, but they didn't get to be televised because they just ran out of time. But maybe cut down on the frivolous speeches award shows, and you won't have these problems, because everyone deserves, like if you're giving them an award, like if you feel it necessary, but for your organization to give that award, it needs to be during like your whole ceremony. Like these people and these people, like they're all getting the same award, just in a different category. Like they don't need to be separated out. Like seriously, we get up and talk about it, inclusion rider all day, every day, and yet we're shooing different departments out of the way, and that's not right. So hopefully they will remedy that by the time that this year's Oscars rolls around. And if they don't, I'm sure it's going to be a major, major thing next year. But with that being said, during my brunches and lunches that I've been having, brunches, lunches, and parties, me and a couple of my friends from this movie that we did years ago, we had a brunch, and some of those people I see as much as I can, but one guy that I haven't seen since we did that movie, which was years and years ago, he's like, he's all spiffy now. He's booking great roles. But we were sitting there making out little vision boards. It was like arts and crafts time. We're cutting stuff out of magazines, and we got glue sticks and tape and poster boards and like this whole deal. And he didn't know that I did No Filter Friday. He didn't know that the show is a thing. Like him and I have literally not spoken or seen each other, even online. So much as on the internet since we wrapped that. And he was like, yeah, I met Bryan Singer's recruiter in WeHo at the bar. Now, if you have not been to West Hollywood, it is a blast. I used to live there back when I was fun and single, and oh my God, we had a good time. It was such a good time. I lived in this building on Sunset, like right next to Directors Guild, and it was wild. That's when I met Brett Ratner, was when he was over at the building all the time. met a lot of those people, and the building that I lived in was, I was doing good, so it was like very she. And I moved into that building when it was brand new, super new construction, and it was only 30% occupied, and the people that were living there was we were all just a hodgepodge of characters, like not Allie Hilfiger. What's his son's name? Anyway, one of Tommy Hilfiger's sons lived down the hall. My old manager Joe, that's how I met him. He lived upstairs. He managed Alice Cooper with the legendary Shep Gordon, and a bunch of other people. They did a lot of rock stars together. Who else lived there? The Dream. Was it Dream? Yeah, Dream. Dream had I was trying to remember. Dream had an apartment there that he used as a studio. So Christina Milian would come in and out all the time, and I could always hear her singing like across the courtyard. But that's when he was cheating on her, so that's what he was, keeping. She was coming down one elevator, and the hoes were coming up the other. It was a whole ordeal. I think Eddie Griffin had a place there for a minute because it was across the street from Laugh Factory too. And Dane, oh Lord, Dane Cook was a pariah in that building. Because it's like literally across the street from Laugh Factory. Dane Cook had gotten an apartment or a deal or something, but anyway, it was his party pad. So he would bring the whole Laugh Factory, as opposed to taking them to his house up the back of the hill. He would take them all there, and you can't mistake Dane's voice. You just can't. So they'd be having these wild parties, and his unit, like mine, faced the courtyard, and all this would just like all these parties would just reverberate off the walls, and me and like all of our other neighbors be standing on the balcony and be like, dang, you need to take these people home. That's enough. We know it's you. Shut this shit down. Like, it was just, oh, hi, Roger Neal. Roger Neal's got better stories than me. Roger, you should really be a guest on the show at some point. We need to figure that out and make it happen. But yeah, it was a war. Dane Cook started a party war. It was terrible. But that building was really, really wild. Just like and that's what West Hollywood's like. That is like all of West Hollywood. And Wayho Jesus, who's, God rest his soul, but he lived down like kitty corner on the block. When I would walk Doodle, we'd go around, and Jesus be out here, watering his plants and stuff. And it was wild, man. We always had, Wayho's still a good time. It's not as good of a time as it was back then, or even before. Like, I feel like I kind of tail ended that, but it's such a wild place, and you never know who's lurking or what's going on. And as far as LGBTQ as West Hollywood is, it's still kind of ratchet in its own way. Like, there'd still be bar fights, but it would be like, two guys fighting over another, something crazy. We went to the Abbey, one of the many nights we went to the Abbey, and I found a girl in my shirt. I'm like, what are you doing? Shoo, away, out. And that's just kind of the stuff that you would come up with. But anyway, Wayho's a good time. It's fun. It's super, super party. Best Halloween in the world, hands down. If you don't go to Halloween anywhere else, go in Wayho. But with that being said, like, it attracts a certain crowd, right? So, he was telling me about how, everybody goes to Rage and the Abbey and like, all these bars down on Santa Monica and Wayho. And Bryan Singer has a recruiter. His name's Michael. He's this like fat, sweaty lump apparently. And he's on Bryan Singer's payroll, like straight up. He gets paid to do this. And he goes around with this, all the gay bars with this like harem of twinks that he keeps. And he's just like, oh, he just goes up to, that's like his thing, is like, these twinky guys. Apparently that's like Bryan Singer's thing. And he goes up and is like, oh, Bryan wants to meet you, blah, 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 blah. And I've heard this before, not from Bryan, obviously, but from other guys. That's how it happens. But anyway, that's the thing. It's like, there's a guy on Bryan Singer's like production payroll, or payroll of some sort. His name's Michael, and he goes around to the bars in Wayho and just tries to get these, young twinky gay guys to come up to the house. That's what he says. Oh, you want to come up to the house? You want to come up to the house? And craziness ensues. So, I mean, at least in theory, those guys are over 18, hopefully. let's hope. But I haven't heard that story yet. And that was exciting to me. I was like, oh, tell me more. Because these guys exist. Like, I always used to call them correspondents when it's like straight guys looking for girls, especially married guys. Like, I've always called it correspondence for married guys because it's not even like a wingman. It's like a straight up, wingman doesn't even, begin to cover it. But these guys that go around and they're like, oh, yeah. Come meet my friend so-and-so, or come meet this guy, or come meet that guy. Or alternatively, it's bodyguards that do this. Bodyguards, security guards, regular entourage people that are like, oh, so-and-so wants to meet you. And I have been binge watching Tales from the Tour Bus. Like, I'm kind of late to the game because I remember when it first came out, if you haven't seen Mike Judge Presents Tales from the Tour Bus, oh my God, it's so good. It's so real. It's so fabulous. Granted, I don't really know very many people that, they presented on the show, but I have been on tour and that's totally what it's like. So, I mean, look at me. I look crazy. Like, thank God. If you're a podcast listener, thank God for it, because you don't have to see this ratchet mess. But anyway, I've been binge watching that, and it made me remember stuff from back in the day of like how I ended up on these tour buses, or some tucked away corner in the House of Blues. God rest its soul. That one's gone on Sunset. We used to have a good time there too. Or just like being out at clubs and like how you meet these people ever. And it reminded me of the time that my friend got, we're having a birthday party for, this was back when I was in Detroit, back for a rapper that you have heard of in Detroit. And the bodyguard of the rapper that you've definitely heard of in Detroit at the time, he's long since been dismissed, but he drugged my friend while we were partying, and I'm like, where did she go? What? She just disappeared. Like, we only, like, clubs in Detroit are small. We were in Pontiac. We weren't even really in Detroit. At this place called the Crowfoot, which I'm pretty sure is still there because I looked it up. And we just had this little teeny tiny small VIP area. And I'm like, where could she have possibly went? Like, it's just this little tiny spot. Like, you can't disappear. And it wasn't like a sea of people were like, oh, I just can't see her and she's still here. No, like, I was dancing on tables. Like, I can see everybody. So where did she go? Because I don't dance on the floor with like normal people. Like, no, I need to be elevated in some way. Otherwise I can't. So with that being said, I can't find her. So I went over to our other bodyguard that we used to run around with, who was far and above my favorite. He was so wonderful. It's this gigantic white guy named Big John. And he's probably still working in Pontiac to this day. I was like, John, where did she go? I don't see her. He's like, oh, she's out in the limo. And I'm like, she's wasted. How did she manage to get in the limo by herself? I'm like, I don't know. So I go in there and I'm like, open the door. It's a Hummer limo. So I'm like, where? And there she is, like, all like, flippy dippy on, because limos have those long bench seats. But I was like, what the fuck? And I couldn't really, I was like, okay, like, I know she, like, we've definitely been drinking for sure, but I'm like, okay, whatever. She had all of her clothes on, but she did leave her coat that night. She left her coat in the club, which, if you're from a cold place, that is your wasted red flag number one, is if you leave your coat at the bar. Cause she had like stuffed it like in the couch of the VIP or something. I don't even know what she did with it, but I had given mine to the DJ because Shortstop was, if you know Detroit radio, Shortstop was DJing that night. I'm like, Vinny, can I put my coat back here? And he's like, I haven't heard from you in weeks, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, just let me stash my coat. And he did. We still talk to this day, crazily enough. So I remember mine because I can't get down with the cold. I don't care how smashed I am. I don't do cold. Not my jam. And I would never leave a piece of clothing anywhere ever, because we all know how seriously I would take that. So I live from my closet. Like, when I die, my dying wish is that my wardrobe goes to the Smithsonian. That's what I want for my life. That's my life goal. So I'm not leaving coats any place. I don't care what has happened to this. I could be dying. They're like, dang, bring my clothes. So with that being said, I was like, what? Is insanity. David Bobke says, Ant-Man, leaving your coat at the bar is insanity in the Midwest. You are not lying. That is a facts, sir. Facts. So I was like, what's going on? And by the time I think I'm doing mental gymnastics over here trying to figure out what's going on. And by this time, all of our people are coming out to get in the limo and they just kind of like, we're going, great. I'm like, all right, cool. And we had picked up some more people like along the way than what we had left the studio with. And it was just kind of balls to the walls in there. And people were like, oh, you were hanging out with this person. Oh, you were hanging out with this person, blah, 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 blah. David Bobby says, I'll get working on the Rachel Mullins Historical Museum right away. Please do, David. I will love you forever. We're going to have to set up a way for you to do that. I'll start compiling my list of exhibits. Anyway, so I mean, everybody was just hammered. I'm not even sure what was going on. And we get back to the studio and everybody gets out. Anyway, I think we stuck around for a while, or maybe I don't think we left right away. I do remember that when we did actually leave, like there was guys that we didn't know, like trying to come home with us. I'm like, no, because as we all know, Rachel Mullins is a hater. I may have invented hating, maybe, possibly. So I was like, no, I don't know any of you. Go, like lock the doors on it. I wouldn't even roll down the window. I wouldn't even crack it. I was like, bye, goodbye, Felicia, goodbye. So I was like, man, what's going on? And it was a long drive home from like Pontiac to Farmington. And by the time we get back, because we had a babysitter for her daughter, and thank God for that woman, okay? Thank God. She was amazing. She took care of the baby and cleaned the house for $5 an hour. Whew, life before Lehman Shock was beautiful. She was amazing. I think her name was Pat. I don't know, but she was fantastic. Anyway, with that being said, so go upstairs to go, it was late, like go let the babysitter go. And she still didn't come up in the house. I'm like, what are you doing? So I go downstairs and go to the car to get her, and she's like trying to take her boots off, but like from the opposite direction. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? And I'm like, leave your shoes on. She's like, I'm like, the baby leaves her shoes on. Come on. Like, seriously? So we get up in the house after I convince her to like leave her shoes on and not walk through the snow in socks like a crazy person. And the next day she's like, I'm numb. Like, I can't feel my feet. And we used to wear nylons back in the day because A, it's cold, and B, that's just what we did. I certainly don't wear them now, but back in the day we did. And her nylons were all like, not like she had runs in them, but like hung up, like had like holes in them. I'm like, what is going on? And she was messed up, dude. She was messed up for like 3 days. And we're like, okay, you definitely, because she didn't drink that much. Like, she had like a drink or two, but she didn't drink that much. I'm like, what? Like, there's no, like, there are people in this world that drink and they're messed up for days afterwards. And this was not one of those times. Like, okay, so 100%, somebody definitely put something in your drink. But, like, what was it? Who was it? Blah, 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 blah. So later on, we hear through the grapevine that so-and-so's head of security was known and instructed to put things in people's drinks, which was, upon hearing it, was crazy to me because I had known this guy for a while and I adored him. I thought he was so much fun. I thought he was the coolest guy ever. And I was like, that's crazy to me. And I never in a million years would think, and I still can't believe that the person whose bodyguard it was at the time would instruct people to do this. It's just not in his nature. It's I don't know, it's bizarre. But anyway, the point being is that just because you don't see that specific person out of the club, out of the bar, even at Soho House, stuff where, places they don't even let people in. Just because you don't see them there does not mean they don't have, agents of the other variety running around for them. And that's how these people end up in some of these situations, because people come up to them and you just think it's like a cool, normal, a regular interaction with a regular person. And it's not. They're there at the behest of someone else. And you're like, what? Man, you lying. I don't even believe you like that. And then you arrive at the situation like, oh my God, this is happening. This is reality. Seriously? And again, this is decades later and I'm remembering this and I'm like, and it's still wild to me. And not that it happened. It happens to people all the time, but from who it happened from, I'm still like, I do believe it because it happened. Like I've seen it with my own eyes. It's happened, but I was like, I'm still flabbergasted by it. So with that being said, just because you don't see that person, out there with their face and their identity doing these things does not mean that they do not have people out actively recruiting or actively doing X, Y, and Z of what they want, people to procure for them, whether it be by hook or by crook. So that is the lesson for this evening's No Filter Friday. And Roger, we should definitely find a way for you to come be a guest on the show because Roger has amazing, amazing stories. He's been working forever. And much like me, he's done a lot of crazy stuff too. Living this whole 9 lives thing on repeat. But I did see this thing on Twitter that I wanted to read you today because I thought it was kind of spot on and important. And that's so why we do this show is because it's spot on and important. Okay. So there's this kind of a big account called Feminist Next Door. That's her. There. And because there's a lot of like conversation about false accusations and this and the other thing, which are despicable and people should not do it, and it should be and it's definitely actionable. Like people have gone to prison for it already, which is great, and they should for falsely reporting and accusing people of things. But this is the tweet. You say women falsely accused, but I think you're scared of the truth. It's not about process or phantom lives ruined. It's the things that you say versus actually do. It's the things that you do to those women you knew. It's the fear of their voices saying me too and pointing at you. And I think I think that's pretty spot on for, I'm not a big poetry person, but I think it's pretty spot on for a poem. And I've been coming to the realization lately that a lot of like these like cliche sayings that we have are 100% true, and they just become cliche because people say it over and over again, and you don't really truly think about the real meaning of it. And the saying the truth hurts is 100% correct, however corny it might sound to whoever, but it's 100% true, and that's why people run from it, because it hurts when people say, especially when it, we're talking about sex crimes or sexual misconduct or like any any sort of like scandalous or taboo. Oh my goodness, where we look at things, we're covering our eyes, but we got fingers creaking open. When you look at stuff like that, people don't want to believe it because it's heinous. And I'm sitting here 10 years later not wanting to believe that this person would have a head of security, not just a bodyguard, but a head of security that was instructed to go out and do this. And he did it on his own time. Like, he wasn't even there, like, to protect said person. Like, he was just out with us, and that's what he was up to. And I don't want to believe it now, but it's true. I saw it with my own eyes. It absolutely happened. And when things come out, when stories come out and scandals come out, people are shocked by it. And I think for some factions of the population, their first response is to be like, oh no, that's a bunch of lies, it didn't happen, because they don't want to believe it. They don't want to mess with it. So if you find yourself in a situation, nude's enough. If you find yourself in a situation where you hear a piece of new information and you're like clutching your pearls, basically, if you find yourself in this position where you're clutching proverbial or literal pearls, think about the saying, the truth hurts. Because if you're hurting, maybe you've heard some truth, because lies are pretty and gorgeous. So think about it while you're clutching your pearls, and maybe it will loosen your fingers from that grip and be like, whoa, this is hurting me. Symptom of the truth. Strange. So I will see you all next week for another No Filter Friday. We have new shows coming to Public House Media this month. Sportsy stuff, newsy stuff, not me over here, the black sheep. The black sheep shall stay the same. Brittany is a good this is my cousin Brittany. People get butthurt when people tell the truth. That's why they lie, but eventually that will catch up to them. It may not be now, but that day will eventually come out. Well, 100% true. The truth outs, man. It comes out. It doesn't stay hidden forever. So you can lie all you want to, or lie and deny until the cows come home, but eventually the truth is going to come to the surface and everything will come out. But yes, check out other shows on Public House Media, like Coffee with Keith and Katie, or Crowned and Dangerous, or Confessions of a Military Spouse, Choose to Rise, Morning Uplift. Morning Uplift is killing it. They're every month, because it's February 1st, our little leaderboards come out for Public House Media, and Choose to Rise is just crushing. I also found another Baxter, one of the heads of the network. He sent me a message on Slack, and he was like, No Filter Friday is ranking 285th in the Czech Republic. I'm like, shout out to Eastern Europe. That's cool. Great. Wonderful. Awesome. So I will leave you there. Check out other shows on the network, and share the show, man. Share the show. Hit the share button, please and thank you. And let's get other people in on this conversation, because it's fun and it's delicious. Much like the tea that we spill. So I will see you all next week. Bye, 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 bye.